Look, you were told that if he's romantic, he's probably the one. And you met a guy who showered you with gifts and flowers and all manner of things. Most romantic guy, but still he disappointed you. You were told that if he's good at communication, he's probably the one. And you met a guy who called you after every 30 minutes for the whole day. And still, he was not the one. You were told that if you find a prayer warrior, someone who pray in tongues and someone who attend church and someone who's committed at church, you will go right. You will never go wrong. And you met someone who did more than that, who fasted for the whole month, and still they disappointed you. So the question that we all have is, how do you know that he is the one? How do you know that you finally met the ideal person, the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with? How do you know that he is the one? How? Listen, gentlemen, we all know that it is by the grace of God that you meet your life partner. And it is by the grace of God that the person you meet will at least tick most of the boxes. They will never be perfect. That's a fact. But there is one thing that I would like to suggest to you, that if you spot this thing from your potential partner, just make sure that you respect that person, because he's probably the one. And this thing is very simple. Commitment. Commitment. You see, if someone is committed, that's a big sign that they are probably the one. If someone is willing to introduce you to their family, to their friends, that's a sign that they are probably the one. If someone is willing to save and pay lobola for you, that's probably a sign that they are the one. If someone is still willing to make things work, that's probably the sign that they are the one. If someone is willing to rectify their mistakes and is willing to make things work for the sake of the relationship, for the sake of the well-being of the relationship, that's probably the sign that that person is the one. But if there is reluctance when it comes to making things work, when it comes to committing, and when it comes to introducing you to his or her family, that's probably a sign that no, this person is not the one. I know there's most of you who were introduced to families and you had lobola paid and still you were disappointed. But commitment is more than that. Commitment is the willingness to want to see things work, even in the midst of challenges, even in the midst of up and downs, even in the midst of weaknesses. Commitment will prevail, for as long as there is willingness on the part of the two partners to make things work, it will work. So, ladies and gentlemen, I suggest that before you can think of anything, just look at commitment. Are they committed enough to sacrifice their time, their finances for you? Are they committed enough to sacrifice their friendships, their other relationships for you? Are they committed enough to sacrifice their leisure time for you? Are they committed enough to sacrifice important things that they had going in their lives for your sake? If they are, that's probably the biggest sign that shows that that person is the one. But for as long as there is lack of commitment, I doubt. Thank you very much.